Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Boise City Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing. A few things to start out with for tonight's proceedings. Everyone from the public entering the hearing virtually has been automatically muted and cannot speak. As the item you're interested in comes up for discussion, you'll be called upon and unmuted. There is a chat function in Zoom. However, this is not part of the record and should only be used if technical difficulties arise. Our procedures for public hearing begins with a presentation from the planning team. Then we'll go to the applicant and then the representative of the Registered Neighborhood Association, followed by questions from the commission. After that, we proceed to public testimony, starting with those who are in person, then who signed up on the sign-up sheet in advance, and then anyone else who raises their hand virtually. If you're attending through your telephone, you can type in *9 to raise your hand. Each member of the public is allowed up to 3 minutes for testimony. We are strict with this time as it is limited in code. Finally, the applicant is allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal, after which the hearing will be closed and the commission will deliberate and render a decision. Mr. Chair, you have the floor.
Thank you, Crystal. Good evening, everybody. We are citizen volunteers appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. We make final decisions on conditional use permits, variances, and appeals and recommendations to city council and subdivisions, rezones, annexations, and code or comprehensive plan amendments. Any decision made tonight may be appealed to the city council provided that the appeal is filed within 10 days of this hearing. In order to file an appeal, you must have given written or oral testimony at tonight's meeting, so that's why it's important to give your name and address when you testify tonight. We utilize the consent agenda. This means that if the applicant agrees with the staff report and if there is no public opposition, the item will be placed on the consent agenda. All items that are placed on the consent agenda are approved with one motion without further public comment. For items not on the consent agenda, we will hold a full public hearing in the order just detailed a few minutes ago with staff, applicant, neighborhood association, and then the public testimony. Thank you all for attending tonight. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Danley.
Here.
Moore. Here. Schaefer.
Here.
Seha.
Here.
Torres.
Here.
Doan.
Here.
Stallings.
Here.
Stefancic.
Here.
All present.
Very good. Now that the public hearing is open here and official note has been taken, just to say one quick thing, go Rams. That is not up for debate. That is not up for discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Out of order? I know. That's all right. I'll take it.
Go Seahawks.
All right. We're going to go ahead and create the consent agenda. And we'll try here, I think for item number 1, and that is SUB 25-65. This is Ziggy Subdivision, located at 1462 South Wiedemann Avenue, I believe. It's a preliminary plat for a residential subdivision comprised of 2 buildable lots on 0.32 acres in an MX2 zone. Is the applicant present? Okay. And do you agree with the conditions and terms in the staff report? Okay, great. Let the record reflect that the applicant is present and does agree with the terms and conditions in the staff report. Is there anybody here in the chambers or online who wishes to testify in opposition to item number 1? This is SUB 25-65. Sorry, I'm just getting my... Anybody in chambers? I'm sorry. Nope. Anybody online that wishes to testify in opposition? Looks like there is none. Okay. With that, we'll go ahead, unless there's any objection, to go ahead and place item number 1 on the consent agenda. Okay. Moving on to item number 3. This is SUB 25-23. HIP Row Townhome Subdivision located at 1229 South Lincoln Avenue. This is a preliminary plat for a residential subdivision comprised of 8 buildable lots and on 2 common lots on 0.28 acres in an MX1 zone. Is the applicant present? Okay. And do you agree with the terms and conditions of the staff report? Great. Let the record reflect that the applicant is present and does agree with the terms and conditions of the staff report. Is anybody in chambers or online who wishes to testify against item number 3, SUB 25-23? Okay. Seeing none and without objection, I'll go ahead and place item number 3 on the consent agenda. Takes us to item number 4. This is CUP 25-20. This is ALC Architecture located at 11101 West Overland Road. This is a modification to a conditional use permit to allow the minor vehicle repair and restaurant uses in an existing plan unit development on 1.53 acres in an MX1 slash FPO zone. Is the applicant present? Okay, and do you agree with the terms and conditions of the staff report? Great. Let the record reflect that the applicant is present and does agree with the terms and conditions of the staff report. Is there anybody in chambers or online who wishes to testify in opposition to item number 4, CUP 25-20, located at 11101 West Overland Road? Okay, nobody in chambers and nobody online. Without objection, I'll go ahead and place item number 4 on the consent agenda. Okay, this takes us to item number 5. This is just to make sure. Okay. CUP 25-29 and CAR 25-20, both are Thornton Byron LLP, both located at 10990 West Fairview Avenue. We have a conditional use permit to expand a legal non-conforming use and a modification to a development agreement on 3.29 acres in an MX3A, or I'm sorry, MX3 with a development agreement zone. Is the applicant present? No. Okay. Is the applicant online? Oh, is Tom Everson the applicant? Yes. Okay. And Mr. Everson, I'm going to have you just make sure to unmute yourself and make sure that you agree with the terms and conditions of the staff report.
Mr. Chair, I'm having a technical difficulty. I'm unable to let him unmute. Just one moment, please.
Can we take a different emoji? I don't know. What would be the emoji? Thumbs up. That's easy. Come on, get more creative than that.
How about a Seahawks logo?
Clearly, that'd be a denial. What we're thinking.
I think they got me unmuted.
There we go. Okay. Hi, Mr. Everson. Do you agree with the terms and conditions of the staff report, sir?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Let the record reflect the applicant is online and does agree with the terms and conditions of the staff report. Is there anybody in chambers or online that wishes to testify in opposition to item number 5? This is CUP 25-29 or CAR 25-20. Nobody in chambers and nobody online. Okay. Without objection, I'll go ahead and place item number 5 on the consent agenda, and that will do it. With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Moore.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as constructed.
Wonderful. Commissioner Moore with the motion to approve the consent agenda as created. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, Rochambeau, what do you got? I think it was Commissioner Doan. Okay, unless there's any discussion, or I should ask, is there any discussion, any opposition? All right, will the clerk please call the roll?
Stanley,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Schaefer.
Aye.
Seha,
Aye.
Torres,
Aye.
Stone,
Aye.
Stallings,
Aye.
Stefancic,
Aye.
all in favor, motion carries.
Very good. Okay, thank you everybody who was part of the consent agenda. Let's move on to our only item number 2. This is SUB 25-85. This is Overland Storage Subdivision located at 12535 West Overland Road, which is a preliminary plat for a commercial subdivision. Mr. Moser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. First, just a correction. It's Cloverland Place subdivision. The Overland, I think, was an old name.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the applicant is requesting approval of a preliminary plat for a commercial subdivision comprised of 4 buildable lots on 6.15 acres located at 12535 West Overland Road in an MX2 FPO DA zone. That's a mixed-use general within a floodplain protection overlay, and there's a development agreement. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Cloverdale and Overland Road. The Reidenbach Canal extends along the east side of the property, and the northeast portion of the site is located within the floodplain of 5 Mile Creek. The existing neighborhood is a mixture of multifamily residential uses and commercial uses along Overland, with single-family residential to the north and south. Bus Route 42 is located within Overland Road adjacent to the site with the bus stop located at the intersection of Cloverdale and Overland Roads. And the city of Meridian abuts the site on the west. This slide shows the site plan and the preliminary plat for the preliminary plat for the project. In summary, the applicant requests approval of a preliminary plat for the Cloverland Place subdivision, which is a 4-lot commercial subdivision comprised of commercial developments along Overland Road and residential use on the south parcel, Lot 1. As proposed, all lots will meet the dimensional standards of the MX2 zone, and there is a recorded cross-access agreement over the adjacent property to the west that provides access to Lot 1. The proposed preliminary plat is consistent with the conceptual plan of the DA, and also the proposed self-storage facility on Lot 2 was approved in 2018 with a conditional use, and this conditional use was specifically called out in the DA itself. The area of the self-storage is marked in green on this slide. In addition, the applicant is proposing a service drive will provide access to lots 2, 3, and 4 along Overland. A condition approval requires installation of a 10-foot wide detached sidewalk, 10-foot wide landscape buffer along the street frontages, and also a 10-foot wide pathway will be installed along the Reidenbach Canal abutting the subject property. The required detached sidewalks and the pathway along Reidenbach Canal are specified in the DA itself. The planning team did receive a letter of opposition from the public expressing concerns with traffic and the building height of the potential future development on Lot 1. The ACHD stated that they will grant temporary full access to Overland Road from the site, but it will be restricted in the future. And as for the concern regarding the building height in Lot 1, that is not part of the subdivision application that's before you tonight, and it will be reviewed separately with a different planning application in the future. I believe the DA specifically requires that any future development of the site requires a conditional use, and of course also require design review for that. As such, the planning team recommends approval of the subdivision plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moser. Is the applicant present? Okay, sir. If you would, just state your name and address for the record. I'm guessing 10 minutes would do it for you. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think you need to turn on your mic. Yep.
There it is. Test. And I've got Jay Walker from my office as well, just backing me up. And then I've got the owner developer, Jess Osla, as well. And born and raised Idahoan, fun fact. And then born and raised myself, and so are you. So I thought that was a good opener. Commissioners, thanks for having us. This project was designed by my predecessor. It was easy to resurrect the old approved design by my office because we had all of the drawings. And but it's a stark comparison of the way things used to be on a minor land division compared to what today's subdivision requirements are. That process is it's not a fun one. So we're humbled, and again, it's just a direct comparison. We've had really old stuff that you resurrect and you expect a lot of changes, but this is kind of like, whoa, my goodness, this expired in 2023, and here we are, and there's just some different requirements. We do have a development agreement that was recorded in 2019. Things like, I digress just a little bit, Veolia used to be United Water. They made us extend water all the way to the city limits of Boise, which we didn't have to do that before. And then it's now ductile iron instead of C900 PVC, and it's 12 inches instead of 8 inches because water models change, and it's just unfortunate for us. We were like, well, we can't argue with that. We need so much fire flow, so we got to do it. So the cost just kind of increased like that. And so there's two things that we wanted to ask you about. And David, I'd love it if you pulled up that PowerPoint that we made. And it's the pathway and the 10-foot detached sidewalk, which is a new city code requirement. And talk about those. And everybody knows where this is nestled. We're right on the city limits of Meridian and Boise. A little bit of the Reidenbach Canal, or city of Boise has a little bit of land on the west side of the Reidenbach Canal. So immediately south of this project site, thank you, is the city of Meridian. And then immediately west of the project site, city of Meridian. So just different jurisdiction, different requirements butting right up against us. So the first topic is the pathway. Next slide, please.
You do have a clicker up there. You can
I do.
click there.
Thank you. It's worn out, the right button.
No one ever figures that thing out, by the way, so good luck.
I got it. So This was a fully approved construction plan set. So this project went dormant right in COVID. It was construction prices were really, really high, and it scared some developers. So that's why this thing went dormant. We got back in it. We're like, well, golly, I mean, look at we had approved plans. We have all these approval letters. Let's just resurrect the thing. Again, back to my opening statement, it's been humbling to kind of take that old minor land division and go to a subdivision, because all the agencies top to bottom, they get another bite at the apple. It's eye-opening. So the pathway, the DA does say that the pathway goes the whole distance. It kind of just opening up old decisions. The approved plans did not have the pathway. This laser pointer wouldn't work for anybody, but the pathway ended on the approved plans right where it entered the lot number 1, which is reserved for multifamily. Our team, the previous ownership team, didn't want that to be multifamily. It was just part of, the mixed use DA, how it had to be there. So we reserved that, because why would people are driving through a storage complex to get to that? But we have a cross access with the city of Meridian, actual vehicular access that would in a future phase when that becomes multifamily, that would make sense. So we're preserving it now. Our interest is the storage unit, right? The pathway stopped right when it got there. David's bringing up, he's like, well, when I read this old DA, it says you got to bring it the whole distance. And we're like, yeah, you're right. Anyway, we had approved plans. They didn't go the whole distance. If I can show you the next slide, we'll kind of, and this is just us stating that there's 2 of them that we want to talk about, but there's a good exhibit. Sorry, guys. So this is, it's hard to see, but you have a future 8-plex, a 4-plex on the left and a 4-plex on the right, which would be sitting in that lot 1 residential. And there's no room to put the 10-foot. It would wipe out a 4-plex. So it's like, that's problem number 1. But then it also doesn't go anywhere. So the city of Meridian, that project to the south, that's a duplex. It was built in 2020. So when the original DA was made, and maybe if there's a consensus, we need to just do a DA mod to make this happen and change that language, because it's problematic now. Or it would just be hard for us to make that happen. It is a pathway. It's a dead end pathway. It was before, but we had this, you see that gap below or south of the storage unit buildings and north of the residential areas. That's an area where the pathway could go out and connect to lands beyond, due to our western property line and the subdivision that they're in Meridian. Because eventually this pathway, if you wanted to continue at all, it would definitely be going through Meridian. The subdivision to the south did not put any kind of pathway there. They're really built up right against the canal easement, the Reidenbach Canal easement. Our pathway has to be outside of the Nampa Meridian Irrigation District easement. We were planning to do that. So it's basically the immediate 10 feet outside of their easement. And we would be building a fence on the easement line, and the pathway would encumber our property inside of that. And I don't, the original plan, didn't contemplate accepting or taking that hit of the footprint of that 10-foot pathway. So we could turn it 90 degrees and just go due west with it, or eliminate the whole thing because it's a dead end. Maybe it's still a good idea to build what portion we're being asked to build from the DA in 2019. But just for your consideration, we'd love to find some compromise there, instead of just being forced, as the DA is written, the entire distance along the Reidenbach Canal, going right through what would be a future 4-plex, and then stubbing it to a dead end, because that duplex, it's just going right to the back corner of that duplex. That common lot there has no width in the terms of, it's right on the edge of the Reidenbach Canal easement. So that is item number 1. And then our suggested language could read revised condition number 3, because there's 5, a 10-foot public pathway be installed along the entire length of the Reidenbach Canal abutting the subject property, except along lot 1. So that would be a suggestion of ours to you guys. And then condition number 4 talks about a 10-foot detached sidewalk. And then we have an exhibit here. The old DA said, and David helped clarify how the DA is written. It was kind of confusing. It's like, well, it says what ultimate build out is. It says 5-foot detached with an 8-foot planter, but it doesn't necessarily say the developer is required to build that. It's just kind of like stating a future build out. And David kind of explained, well, if it's in this format, that's meant for you to build it that way. But the sidewalk was already existing. It exists against all along our frontage is a 5 foot attached, and it's a 7 foot attached. Some of it is full 7 feet. Some these are pictures from the frontage. Some of it has that 2 foot stamped colored concrete in front and then the back, and then you can kind of see the power poles behind. So when an engineer is faced with, you want a detached sidewalk, it's like, well, you got the power poles to deal with. You probably got to go on the far side of it. The other problem with, there's a lot of utilities underneath that sidewalk. So this is a pretty major corridor. You got the communications and the fiber optic underneath there. The obvious thing is like, well, right now our trees are appropriately spaced in a planter width, which we could definitely say that meets, well, we could definitely give more than 8 feet, right? To say that there's an 8 foot buffer there, but it just happens behind the sidewalk. We can put all of our trees and those tree roots wouldn't conflict with anything. But if we had to move the sidewalk and make it detached, it's very, very hard to plant a tree root ball on top of the fiber optic and everything that's underneath that sidewalk now. And you can see in those pictures, there's lots of communication boxes right behind that sidewalk. So a lot of stuff going on. It's Overland Road. There was even an idea, it's like, well, who's to say in the future that curb doesn't come inward and eliminate that little, that bike lane, because a future 10, when ACHD comes through and wants to do a corridor plan, that the 10 foot detached sidewalk doesn't account for that. This next slide is just kind of showing you broad, all up and down, because this is the last piece really that isn't developed. You've got a lot of mix of 5 and 7 foot sidewalks, most of them attached.
I'm going to pause you. And the reason I'm going to pause you is because the item that's mostly before us tonight is this the sub itself, or the subdivision, as opposed to some of the details that you're describing. And so I want to make sure that you just hit on anything that you need to get out for the actual sub part of this before. I mean, you have up to 10-20 minutes. I don't think you need that, but I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Again, this exhibit was just showing up and down what the existing sidewalks were. I'm wrapping this up. More utility conflicts with that question. So the two items, there's 5 conditions of approval on the subdivision. Items 3 and 4, we would propose an added language that says, if you guys were agreeable to our logic, we would then have to do a DA mod to clean up some of this language from the 2019 development agreement. If you guys weren't and say, no, I like it as written, then that's the way that is too. And those would remain unchanged, right? I do think that if one lesser evil would be to meander around all these utilities, a 5 foot meandering sidewalk is definitely more doable to an engineer than the 10 foot having to miss these large power poles and still get trees in there and such like that. So the 10 foot is quite it's a big burden. That's all I've got.
My mic isn't on. Thank you. We'll have questions in just a second. So I want to make sure the neighborhood association, I don't see Marissa Keith with us. So is she online? I don't think so. No. Okay. In that case, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions from the commission.
Mr. Chair, I just do want to make a point that right before you today is the subdivision application. You do not have a development agreement modification before you, so we cannot change items in the development agreement, and it's not really in front of you at this moment. Just a reminder.
Okay, thank you, Crystal.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Moore.
Just a clarification on that point. So the conditions in question are part of the DA, but they're also conditions on the sub. So those conditions, modifying those conditions would be a modification of the DA. No, okay, those conditions are okay.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I mean, connectivity and sidewalk and street improvements are part of subdivisions, but in this case, they're also dictated in the DA that they shall install a 5 foot wide detached sidewalk, 8 foot landscaper as a minimum along the street frontages. I'm requiring a 10 foot detached sidewalk and 10 foot landscape buffer because it is an arterial, and that's what our code currently requires. It said a minimum in the DA, and there is a large, you can see there were power lines. So we can't put the class 2 trees under the power line, so we need the wider. But if they're asking to keep the attached, that would require a DA modification because it's in that section 2 of the DA. And I think I did include the recorded DA in the packet, so you can see it. And also I believe the pathway to the 10-foot pathway. I think under the exhibits they attached into the DA the conditions of approval from that CUP and variance back in 2018, and there was a condition that they install the 10-foot pathway along the entire stretch of Reidenbach. That's the way I'm reading that. So to modify these, they would have to come back and change the DA.
Sure. So, Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Moore.
just so I understand correctly, really the only piece of either of these conditions that we could modify under this current application is the width of the sidewalk.
Actually, that would be correct. You could change that because our code requires 10. The DA specifies they could be a minimum of 5
Understood.
and 8-foot landscape buffer.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, just
Yep, go ahead.
completely different from those conditions. City Meridian submitted some comments about the adjacency of storage buildings to the rest of, to the residential adjacent. This is going through design review, so that adjacency and that buffer will be assessed at that time. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the conditional use for the self-storage was approved and runs with the DA. So that's already been done. I think there was a development agreement in 20, although the DA does not specifically call that out. So given that, I believe then, at least is my interpretation then, that the DA might have expired or the development agreement might have expired, sorry, for that self-storage. So they would have to come back with a new development agreement too many Ds, new design review, sorry.
Gotcha. Understood. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of the commission? Start at the beginning, as they say.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Torres.
my question is for the applicant. So based on what we just heard from staff about not being able to stick with the attached sidewalk that's already there, would the 5-foot meandering sidewalk be something that would be doable with your design? Does he need to say that into the microphone for the record? Just a question. quick
Yeah,
question.
we need to make sure that
Sorry.
anything that's answer to a question is on the record.
Chairman, Commissioners, and the answer is yes to that. Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'm checking with legal on just one thing about the sidewalk. If you guys could maybe just take a quick pause, just so
Yeah.
we can figure this out.
You want us to take an official 5? Okay, we'll take 5 minutes. We good? All right, we're gonna go ahead and reconvene. All right. I have a question because I want to make sure we are on the right page. Because even I'm a little bit confused. All right, I'm going to read straight from our staff report, and I'm going to read right off of section 7 analysis. And it says which is referring to the DA, also requires the construction of screening walls, a public pathway along the Reidenbach Canal, and a minimum of a 5-foot wide detached sidewalk and an 8-foot wide landscape buffer along the street frontages abutting the subject property. All right. The DA was an agreement from 2018, correct?
Mr. Members of the commission, that's correct.
Okay. And so the DA still has life, but what we're hearing in front of us today is a subdivision application for the commercial property that is at hand. The DA requirements are moving forward with the overall parcel, which includes these two things, the Reidenbach Canal pathway and the 5-foot sidewalk and an 8-foot landscape buffer. However, in our requirements, we show, let me skip ahead. I mean, I know you wrote it, so you know what it says, but we have a 10-foot, we specifically give definition to the Reidenbach Canal width of being 10 feet. Here it is. Okay, so number 3, a 10-foot wide public pathway. So we're putting an actual width to it. And a now 10-foot wide detached sidewalk and a 10-foot wide landscape buffer with curb gutter and sidewalk. Okay. So number 3 in our findings and requirements sort of codifies what was in the DA, but puts a metric to it unless the DA had that metric in it before, which I don't recall us talking about. Did the DA previously have a width associated with that pathway?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I think it did. I'd have to double check, or it was in the project report from the CUP from 2018. But I think it did call out a 10-foot wide pathway along Reidenbach Canal, and that's what they're proposing. They're just stopping it short. It doesn't extend through lot 2.
Right. Okay. So
Or
the
1, I should say.
applicant is requesting, make sure I got this straight. You're saying that this pathway goes all the way to the terminus of lot 1, and therefore that doesn't make sense. And your request, as I understand it, is either to jog it to the west so that it does connect with the neighborhood, or doesn't continue into lot 1 and terminate because of the potential impacts, which is a whole other discussion and not in front of us tonight, but of the fourplex, I think is what you said. That's point number 1. Clear?
Clear.
Okay. All right. So on point number 2, the DA, which still has a pulse, still alive, requires a 5-foot sidewalk and an 8-foot landscape buffer according to 2018 document.
5-foot minimum.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, good word. Thank you. We are now requiring, as per item number 4, point number 4, a 10-foot wide detached sidewalk and a 10-foot wide landscape buffer, because since 2008 to now, we have a new code. And our new code and what you're putting in here is now jiving, and it's reflective of our modern version, because y'all waited. The world set on fire and everything in 2020. We know that, but this is the process of events that unfolded.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, that is correct. The
Okay.
DA required a minimum, and we're requiring it to comply with our current, which
Okay.
is beyond the minimum.
So the request for the pathway to change directions or to stop short would be subject to the DA.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, that is correct. I think the DA has a condition that the pathway extend along the entire.
So
length of
this
Reidenbach.
number 3 probably shouldn't be in our staff report as a recommendation of approval, because it's with the DA, not with the subdivision.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I can still condition it. It's just, it's also called out in the DA itself.
Okay, but if they want to change that and change the direction or stop it short, they'd have to come back in front of us and have an official ask. We can't do that tonight because that's not what's in front of us, because it's a modification to the DA, not the subdivision.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, that is correct. To
Okay.
modify the DA as a rezone, the CAR application.
All right, so we got that straight. So technically, as of tonight, item number 3 is off the table for us to consider. So what is in front of us is item number 4, which is a 5-foot minimum sidewalk as per the DA and the 8-foot landscape buffer, and the term and condition in the staff report of it being 10 and 10, and then the applicant's request.
Mr. Chair. On this one, I would like to clarify. So because it does say minimum,
Yeah,
the current standards that this application has been applied for do stand. And so to deviate from the current standard, which is a requirement of 10 feet, would require a variance application.
oh heavens.
Yes.
Okay. So then.
A DA doesn't enshrine a right in perpetuity to do less than what the code at the time of application is.
Is that, can you come up to the microphone, whoever you want to have representing your team? I just want to make sure, so are you clear on what staff is saying? That these two items can be amended, but cannot be addressed by us tonight?
I do. And I'm thinking that we would like to request a continuation so that we can apply for them. And then it's on the docket next time you see it.
Go ahead, staff.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I mean, they could do, but they would have to have another neighborhood meeting and kind of like go back through it and then reapply for a rezone and a variance to do that. And then at some point in the future, then we could have a subdivision, the rezone and the variance all before you. But it's going to take a little bit of time.
So could we not make a determination tonight on the subdivision and then they come back at a different date whenever, as opposed to the a deferral, which is what's being requested? Would the timing not kind of sync up to just basically come back and have a DA modification and a variance request?
Mr. Chair, members, you could actually hear the subdivision tonight because you're just making recommendation to city council.
Right.
So the preliminary plat still has to go on to council, so they could wait to hear that at council to adjust everything else through the rezone and the variance. And I think at that point, theoretically, if the DA get modified and the variance occurred, then some of these conditions could be adjusted before it goes to council, because you're just making a recommendation. They make final
So
decision.
what would be your recommendation?
Here,
Mr. Chair, I would say that the cleanest thing would be to defer this and have all of the requests be seen and reviewed all at the same time so that the decision makers can have the full picture.
Okay,
No.
so in that instance, you are requesting a deferral. You're obviously open to a deferral. Staff is recommending that at your request, we take that action. We still have members of the public who are here tonight. So now I have to ask, I guess this is the appropriate time. Are any of you, well, we don't even have a date. We have no idea what the date would even be. So this would be, I think it seems like this is open, the applicant is open, and it's going to be at least 60 days, I would imagine. Okay.
I would say that'd be at least.
I have never had this happen in all the years I've been doing this. Have you?
Commissioners, I think
Mr. Chair,
Hold on, let me make sure.
we could move forward with public testimony, get that on the record, and then when this does come back through, this would all still be included as part of the record.
Well,
However,
okay.
just for folks here in the public who wish to testify, this is not going to be the final product because they're coming forward with other modifications. So it just
Okay.
might be worth weighing if you want to testify on this proposal or wait until the full proposal is there.
Okay, what did you want to add?
Mr. Chair, I think it's the variance that's sketching us here. Otherwise, we could just tie all the requirements to the DA in case we were successful later of changing the DA, but it's the variance, which I don't see a way through that. It would be, that's not in front of you. It would need to be in front of you if you were to deviate from current code of 10 feet. I don't know if you guys can't just say, oh, it's 8 without a variance application in front of you. So that's where we're tripped up. We've got to.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't disagree. I think it's just a procedural issue. Okay, so then you can have a seat real quick. I have some folks who are here, members of the public. Can you just raise your hands so I have a show of hands? How many? We got four folks. Okay. So what we're talking about is we're trying to respect your time. And we want to make sure that when this comes back in front of us, because of now this request to defer to get a couple of other things on the docket for us to decide, which is a procedural issue. We typically, when we have a deferral and we have a hard date, we know when that's going to occur. And then we ask the members of the public if they are unable to attend on the date that is into the future. We don't have a date now. It's probably going to be a couple of months. So you can either come back and talk about whatever you were going to bring up and potentially these other couple of items that have to do with the sidewalk, the landscape buffer, and the pathway. Or we can have you testify tonight, get it on the record, and then we will revisit that record when they come back up. And if you want to attend and testify again, I think you could, because there's new items. to consider, but you don't have to because it would be on the record. So is that clear? This is bureaucracy in real time. Okay. Yes, sir. Come on up just so we make sure your question is, well, I'm not at public testimony, so.
There yet, yeah.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let me get my head straight here. Okay. Are there any other questions of the commission respectful of the subdivision itself?
Mr. Chair,
Of course.
I'll jump in just to
Commissioner Shaver,
take off.
hold on,
Take
sir.
the weight off your shoulders.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
got
have
it.
some
You got it.
flavored
I mean,
water.
you are a Rams fan. I'll do that for you.
We only can think at one thing at a time.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So staff, I just want to make sure the variance application would be to retain the existing sidewalks. That's right. Because the condition now would be, we don't have an issue if we proceed with the condition as it's written.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, if their request is to modify the DA to strike the detached sidewalks entirely and retain it, and then there will be a variance to not install the detached sidewalks
Gotcha.
as
Okay.
per
All
code.
right. Just want to make sure I understood that. I was just worried I was getting things confused. So, okay, that makes sense to me. So you'd have a DA modification plus the variance. Okay, thank you.
Okay, one more question or one more chance. Any questions on the subdivision?
I also would have a follow-up, but don't mind.
You could have just asked.
Well,
that.
you jumped back in, man. You're excited. You're excited. So David, my other question on the pathway, I think their testimony makes a lot of sense about terminating at the north edge of lot 1. How does staff feel about that?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, we do always want to try to get pathways along canals where possible. I would really need to talk to our pathway manager
Okay.
and figure out what their thoughts are in this particular situation.
Okay. All right. 'Cause just for the record, where I sit right now, just terminating there is the access out to right of way, the north edge of lot 1. So it seems to make sense to me where I sit today, but I understand what you're saying. Since it's essentially landlocked to the south. So, okay. I'll stop now, Chair.
Okay. All right. Okay, so with that, since there are no more questions of the commission, we will go ahead and now bring that portion of the proceedings to a close. And now we can open it up to public testimony. So now, sir, if you would like to come up, let me just have you state your name and your address, at least for the record. And I'm guessing you might have a question because we'll probably have lots of them, but go ahead.
I'm Gerald Maxfield, 1920 South Mayflower Way in Boise. I'm directly across the canal from Lot 1.
Okay.
And I have I didn't realize until tonight that Lot 1 is not a part of the subdivision request. So I may be a bit premature, but having heard all this discussion, I think it makes sense to get rid of this postage stamp lot. It's over a 6-acre property and you got this little dinky half-acre lot for residential. Doesn't make any sense to me. It's going to look odd. To me, it would be, I would request the developer to modify, I don't know whether it's a modification of the DA or part of the variance request, but just extend the storage another few feet. That residential lot serves no purpose that I can see, other than, I guess it's the mixed use. But you got a postage stamp to qualify for a mixed use. So I don't think any of us are strongly opposed to the project. We have a few concerns. I had concerns about Lot 1. My concerns would go away with this change. So I believe that's pretty much my comment.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for all the confusion this evening. Do any of the three of you wish to test? Okay, great. So then we'll go ahead. Let me make sure there's anybody online. Tom Everson's still with us. He can go home now. He doesn't have to hang out. All right. With that, so there's nobody else who wishes to testify. So we'll go ahead and bring the public testimony portion to an end. typically we would offer you 5 minutes of rebuttal, but I know that you don't want that. So then I think we can make a motion to defer. I think we're finally at the end zone. Okay. So with that, make sure P's and Q's I think it's an open-ended deferral. And the applicant understands that we are required to make a decision within 60 days. I'm trying to remember the language we talked about last week, but that it might go past that based on schedules because of other applications. But the intent is to get you back here within that period of time.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if that 60-day would even count right now because technically, based on what their request is, this is an incomplete application. So I think that the 60-day time limit outlined in code that we discussed last week is a moot point. So we can just defer.
Okay. So with that, I would entertain a motion for the request of the applicant to defer this item.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Schaefer.
I move to defer item number 2, SUB 25-85 to a later date.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, I think I heard it this way. Commissioner Stallings, is that you? All right. Yeah. Second by Commissioner Stallings. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Not necessarily. I think that it would be a good opportunity, though, if there's other folks up here on the dais to have comments on the application. This would be a good opportunity to share those comments so that the applicant team and staff understand our concerns.
Yeah.
Or we find, it's great about the application.
Right.
So just a little reminder to everybody up here. There is complexity on the sidewalk issue. There is complexity there. Absolutely. We run into complexity on sidewalks all the time. So, where I stand is that, my recommendation would be to hold on the standard code conditions and do what we can for the detached sidewalk and the planter strip. I am, open to the suggestions that the applicant made regarding the pathway. We are clearly landlocked to the south with new development along the canal and in Meridian. So if there's a method to get that pathway out to the west, I would be amenable to that idea as well. From a bigger picture, I think the use is fine in this situation. It's an unusual parcel, and I can see the challenges to developing a parcel in this configuration. So I think the use is fine. I have no concerns in that regard. But there definitely are some complexities with the perimeter, right? Sidewalk, pathway, those things. That's where I sit.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. And if there are any other comments of the commission specific to directions on a couple of the things that we discussed, you don't have to say anything. You can say something if you'd like. Up to you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Stallings.
I'll just add, not completely in agreement with Commissioner Schaefer's comments. Same as a dead end pathway along the canal. We like to see those kind of be a part of a bigger plan, and I'm aligned with having that abut more towards the neighborhood instead of a dead end past a multifamily home or multifamily complex. With the sidewalks and the streetscapes along Overland, same thing. I think we keep running into these. It looks like ACHD may have plans to widen this road as well. There's something to consider there on how we protect this roadway long term. And those stamped curb cut, we talk about it a lot, but that's not ours. That's ACHD's to plan for growth. So I don't generally consider that as part of a long-term, it's always going to be there guarantee when I look at these applications. That's all I like.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Stallings.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Seha.
I have heartburn with the sidewalk and potentially reducing that 10-foot pathway and setback. As Commissioner Schaefer noted, we deal with this often on State Street. Last week, we dealt with it on Maple Grove. If you spend any time on a busy roadway where you have cars going anywhere between 35 to 45 miles an hour and you're a pedestrian or a bicyclist, it's very uncomfortable, especially when the sidewalk is right next to the roadway. We have that whole corridor is being redeveloped, right? We've got all kinds of residential development along that corridor that is being developed. Folks need to be able to get out of their cars in some cases and walk to commercial development in the area. And that means we need more comfortable, safe sidewalks and accessibility. So to the Ride and Bop pathway, people are more apt to take a pathway away from roads instead of staying on Overland and then cutting back down into, say, that subdivision to the west in Meridian. So, I'm amenable to connecting, not, dead ending it, but connecting it, but definitely on the sidewalk. If this was before us today, I couldn't support it. I mean, I would support the 10-foot and the setback.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Seha.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Torres?
I want to echo most of what Commissioner Seha and Commissioner Schaefer said. I also tend to be inclined to want to see us stick with our requirements in the code and the 10-foot detached sidewalk, and also have the multi-use pathway be away from the busy arterial. Having said that, I'm always open to hearing suggestions to the opposite. I'm not going to make up my mind. We're not voting to make a decision on this today. So I'm always open to hearing what the applicant has to say and consider the arguments, on each individual application. But I do want to just say up here that generally for us to waiver from those requirements, it has to be a pretty convincing case, I think, in most cases. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Torres.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Moore?
Agreed on the 10-foot pathway. I think Boise in their landscape ordinance has, avenues to help with plantings in those areas where you've got a lot of utilities, geared more towards infill development when you've got things in the right of way, some alternative compliance methods. So not particularly inclined at this time towards the 10-foot if that was presented for us right now. Or towards varying from that 10-foot. I understand that those are really big power lines, but there is a good amount of right of way there, and it appears to work with the site plan kind of as presented. On the pathway along Ride and Bop, the same sentiments, I think, agree with not terminating into the backyard, but would be supportive of it kind of connecting towards that western neighborhood, because that feels like it meets the intent of the pathways more than terminating somebody's backyard.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Doan?
I'll just weigh in. I agree with all the things that have been brought up. I do think the 10-foot sidewalks and the 10-foot landscape buffer, again, like Commissioner Torres said, interested in seeing what alternatives could be brought. But again, that's not our decision today. And if we need to stick with what the code outlines, which is the 10 and 10.
Care. Mr. Stefanski?
I guess I'll weigh in and echo sentiments of the rest of the commissioners up here. How important the connectivity is in the sidewalks to these neighborhoods. Just looking at the surrounding neighborhoods and some of the businesses nearby that someone could walk to or get to by alternative forms of transportation, that being pretty important. And the ability to avoid overland if interested, the Ride and Bop Canal really provides that. I would also support that terminating it early to connect to that exit street there. Thank you.
What the heck? I'm just going to add something real quick, and that is Overland's a mobility corridor. This is more of a pathway. It's not a sidewalk. It is intended for multi-purpose use. And so it does need to be closer to 10 feet. My advice to you, I understand those power poles, moving that power pole, you're talking probably $100, $200, $300,000, something like that. So creative solutions would be, I think, welcomed. A meander and potentially taper within reason because of some of that stuff, I think would be a wise thing to do. I don't think anybody wants to see sticking to a standard in a certain situation that might warrant otherwise. So I would just say creative thinking. Let's take roll because we've all had our our opinion known. The clerk, please call the roll.
Danley,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Seha,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Stone,
Yes.
Stallings,
Yes.
Stefansik,
Yes.
all in favor, motion carries.
Okay, go Rams. Consider this evening.
Go Seahawks.
What? I'm sorry, your microphone was off. Hearing is over.